played it for her, he played it for me.
Well, I don't think I can remember.
If she can stand it, I can. Play it.
Yes, boss.
This fancy-looking invitation is to the 50th anniversary screening of Casablanca at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. I'll tell you the story behind it later.
Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine.
In 1992, I happened to produce a documentary on the co-writer of Casablanca, Howard Koch. You must remember this.
You must remember this. A kiss is just a kiss.
Because of it, I think I have a few insights that I would love to share with you. Here, of course, I'm assuming that you all have seen Casablanca.
I started out as a lawyer. Now, my father was a lawyer without a degree, and I had the degree, and I was not a lawyer, at least not a lawyer that should be practicing.
Before Howard got involved in Casablanca, his claim to fame rested on The War of the Worlds that he adapted for radio for Orson Welles' Mercury Theatre on the Air in 1938.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's.
Orson said, now I want to do this in another way. I want to do this in news bulletin form and then first person singular. I said, well, Orson, I only got 1 week. Generally, I can get more material out of what you give me, but I can get very little if you want it done in that way, except the idea of the invasion and description of the Martians and their machines. That's about all. And he said, go ahead and do it, you know. So I wanted to keep my job, so I did it.
It is reported that at 8:50 p.m., a huge flaming object, believed to be a meteorite, fell on a farm in the neighborhood of Grover's Mill, New Jersey, 22 miles from Trenton. The flash in the sky was visible within a radius of several hundred miles, and the noise of the impact was heard as far north as Elizabeth. We have dispatched a special mobile unit to the scene.
We are deeply shocked and deeply regretful about the results of last night's broadcast.
And I've had almost no sleep, and I know less about this than you do. I haven't read the papers.
This is hard to believe, but they sell the dirt where the Martian machine was supposed to have landed. They sell that in little packages for $5 a bag. And so they do a business on something that never happened.
Next week, we present a dramatization of 3 famous short stories. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
After that, the show closed because they had offers to go to Hollywood.
So, in 1939, Howard, too, left for Hollywood.
Who are you really, and what were you before? What did you do, and what did you think, huh?
It had to be you. I've wandered around and finally found somebody who...
The first writers assigned to the script were the twins Julius and Philip Epstein, who enjoyed their reputation in Hollywood for writing scripts with witty dialogue and memorable one-liners. Howard told me that he was assigned by the Warner Brothers to Casablanca when the Epsteins left in 1942 to work on Frank Capra's Why We Fight series. Howard also told me that Curtiz insisted on keeping the Paris flashbacks even though he felt it would slow the pace. Other uncredited writers included Hal Wallace, who wrote the final line.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Of course, Howard's main emphasis was on the political elements. In 1940, playwright Murray Burnett and Joan Ellison wrote a play called Everybody Comes to Rick's. The pair intended it as a cautionary tale about the perils of fascism. The play was meant for Broadway but never made it. The project was renamed Casablanca, copying the 1938 hit Algiers. Algiers itself was a remake of the acclaimed 1937 French film Pépé le Moko. One day at Howard's home in Woodstock while shooting the documentary, his phone rang, and Howard asked me to answer it for him. "Hello, this is Roger Mayer, the president of Turner Entertainment. I would like to have Mr. Koch attend the 50th anniversary of Casablanca at the Modern Museum of Art in New York City. Also attending will be Mr. Ted Turner and his wife Jane Fonda." I told him I was in the middle of producing a documentary on Mr. Koch and would love to use footages on the films he had worked on, including Casablanca, that were owned by Turner Classic Movies. "Bring Mr. Koch to the reception and you can have all the footages you'll need for your documentary, free of charge." When I told Howard who had called and what he wanted, he agreed without batting an eyelash. He told me that he would have gone anyway because of Jane Fonda. A limo was sent to pick us all up in Woodstock and take us to New York City for the reception and screening. And Howard finally got to meet Jane Fonda.